Hello students, and welcome to the lecture on control structures. After the lecture, we will be able to learn the following objectives. Understand the relational operators. Discuss the conditional statements. Explain the nested if statement. Describe the logical operators. Define the switch case statement. Discuss the conditional operator or ternary operator. Let's start with a brief introduction to control structures. A control structure is a primary concept in most high-level programming languages. In its simplest sense, it is a block of code. More specifically, control structures are blocks of code that dictate the flow of control. In other words, a control structure is a container for a series of function calls, instructions, and statements. The most common specific forms of those control structures are gotos, subroutines, for loops, do-while loops, if-then, try, catch, finally, so on and so forth. The names deviate between languages, but for the most part, these concepts are universal across all imperative programming languages. Now let's talk about the relational operator. Relational operators checks relationships between two operands. If the relation is true, it returns value 1, and if the relation is false, it returns value 0. A is greater than B. Here, greater than is a relational operator. If A is greater than B, a greater than B returns 1. If not, then it returns 0. Relational operators are used in decision-making and loops in C programming. Look at the table of relational operator shown here. Let's now talk about the compound or block statement. A compound statement, also called a block, typically appears as the body of another statement, such as the if statement. Declarations and types describe the form and meaning of the declarations that can appear at the head of a compound statement. Syntax is as shown on the screen. If there are declarations, they must come before any statements. The scope of each identifier declared at the beginning of a compound statement extends from its declaration point to the end of the block. It is visible throughout the block unless a declaration of the same identifier exists in an inner block. We will now discuss the conditional statements. Conditional statements, conditional expressions, and conditional constructs are features of a programming language which perform different computations or actions depending on whether a programmer specified Boolean condition evaluates to true or false. Apart from the case of branch predication, this is always achieved by selectively altering the control flow based on some condition. The if statement. The if statement is a powerful decision-making statement and is used to control the flow of execution of statements. It is basically a two-way decision statement and is used in conjunction with an expression. If the condition is true, the statements inside the parentheses will be executed, or else the control will be transferred to the next statement after if. Syntax is shown on the screen. A sample program of the if statement is shown on the screen. Program algorithm explanation. Hash includes stdio.h. Header file is included because the C inbuilt statement prints F. We used this in program. Comes under stdio.h header files. Hash includes con io.h is used because the C inbuilt function, getCH function, comes under con io.h header files. Main function is the place where C program execution begins. Two variables A and B of type int is declared. Variable A is assigned a value of 10 and variable B with 5. An if condition is used to check whether A is greater than B. If A is greater than B. A is greater than B. The printf inside the if function is executed with a message A is greater. Output is shown on the screen. The if-else statement. In if-else, if the condition is true, the statements between if and else is executed. If it's false, the statement after else is executed. Syntax is shown on the screen. A sample program is shown on the screen. Program algorithm explanation. Hash includes stdio.h. Header file is included because the C inbuilt statement prints f. We used in this program comes under stdio.h header files. Hash includes con io.h is used because the C inbuilt function getCH comes under con io.h header files. Main function is the place where C program execution begins. Two integer variables A and B are declared. User input values are received for both A and B using scanf. An if-else conditional statement is used to check whether A is greater than B. If A is greater than B, the message A got greater value is displayed using printf. If B is greater, the message B got greater value is displayed. Output is shown on the screen. Nested if statement. It is always legal in C programming to nest if-else statements, which means one can use one if or else if statement inside another if or else if statements. Syntax is shown on the screen. Sample program of nested statement is shown on the screen. Output is shown on the screen. Goto statement. A goto statement in C programming language provides an unconditional jump from the goto to a labeled statement in the same function. Syntax is shown on the screen. Look at the screen for a sample program of goto statement. Program algorithm explanation. Hash includes stdio.h. Header file is included because the C inbuilt statement printf we used in this program comes under stdio.h header files. Hash includes con io.h is used because the C inbuilt function getCH comes under con io.h header files. Main function is the place where C program execution begins. Two variables A and B of type int are declared. User inputs are received for A and B using scanf. If condition is used to check whether A is greater than B, if A is greater than B. If a true go-to statement is used to jump to the label first, and the statement under first is executed, and then again jump is performed to get to the end of the program. Go to G. If the condition is false, a statement is used to jump to label second. Go to second, and the statement under second is executed. Output is shown on the screen. Break statement. In C programming, break is used in terminating the loop immediately, just after it's encountered. The break statement is used with conditional if statement. Look at the screen for syntax. The break statement can be used in terminating all three loops, for, while, and do while loops. Continue statement. It is sometimes desirable to skip some statements inside the loop. In such cases, continue statements are used. Look at the screen for syntax. Just like break, continue is also used with conditional if statement. For loop, a for loop is a programming language statement which allows code to be repeatedly executed. A for loop is classified as an iteration statement. Syntax is shown on the screen. Look at the example of for loop. Output is shown on the screen. In this program, the user is asked to enter the value of n. Suppose the entered value of n is 19. Then the count is initialized to 1 at first. Then the test expression in the for loop. So the code in the body of for loop is executed, which makes the sum 1. Then the expression plus plus count is executed, and again the test expression is checked, which becomes true. Again, the body of for loop is executed, which makes sum to 3, and this process continues. When the count is 20, the test condition becomes false, and the for loop is terminated. Syntax of while loop is shown on the screen. The while loop checks whether the test expression is true or not. If it is true, codes inside the body of while loop is executed. That is, codes inside the braces are executed. Then again, the test expression is checked whether test expression is true or not. This process continues until the test expression becomes false. Do while loop. In C, do while loop is very similar to while loop. The only difference between these two loops is that in while loops, test expression is checked at first. In do, while loop code is executed at first, then the condition is checked. So the codes are executed at least once in do, while loops. Syntax is shown on the screen. At first, codes inside the body of do is executed. Then the test expression is checked. If it's true, codes inside the body of do are executed again, and the process continues until test expression becomes false or 0. Now let's talk about the logical operators. A logical operator is used to compare or evaluate logical and relational expressions. There are 3 logical operators available in the C language, as shown on the screen. Look at the truth table and logical AND on the screen. Look at the truth table for logical OR on the screen. The logical NOT operator is a unary operator. This operator inverses a logical result.
In C, we're going to use the logical operator AND OR. To use the logical operator AND, you have to write the symbol ampersand 2 times, and to use this OR, you have to write this straight line like symbol 2 times. So now we're gonna see where we can use these logical operators in our program. So first I'm gonna create a variable and I'm gonna call it age, and I'm gonna assign it the value of let's say 15. So if we use a if statement to test some condition here, let's say age is less than or equal to 18, and if it is so, we're gonna print something to the screen, let's say less than 18. So here, as you can see here, by using this relational operator, we can test for only one condition, whether my age is less than or equal to 18. This is one condition. If my age is less than or equal to 10 or anything like that. So for that purpose, what you can do is you can write another if statement inside this if statement, and you can write that. But in C, there is an easy method available. So you can use these logical operators and you can construct a complex test condition, or you can test more than one condition here in this if statement only. So for that purpose, in this tutorial, what we want to do is we're going to check whether a person is a teenager or not. So we can say that a person is a teenager if his age is greater than or equal to 13 and less than or equal to 18. So here we have checked whether the age is less than or equal to 18. So we need to check another condition here, that is whether my age is greater than or equal to 13. So if both these conditions satisfy, then we can say that a person is a teenager. You are a teenager. So for that purpose, to check for both these conditions, we have to use this AND operator. When we use this logical operator AND, this if statement is going to check whether this age variable contains the value which is less than or equal to 18, and this age variable contains a value which is greater than or equal to 13. So if both these conditions satisfy, then the statement inside this if block will be executed. If one of these condition fails, then this code will not be executed. That's why we're gonna write else block here, and we're gonna say, let me copy and paste it here, not a teenager. Save it, compile it. Now my age is 15, which is less than or equal to 18 and greater than or equal to 13. That's why it's gonna say you are a teenager. So run it. So as you can see, it says you are a teenager. So now I'm gonna make it greater than 18, let's say 20. Now our age is not less than or equal to 18, but our age is greater than or equal to 13. Since this condition fails, or one of these condition fails, this if block will not be executed, the else block will be executed. So I'm gonna save it, compile and run. So as you can see, it says you are not a teenager. Now if you want to execute this if block, if any one of these conditions here specified satisfies, for that purpose we have to use the logical operator OR. So what happens here is, if whether this age is less than or equal to 18, or whether my age is greater than or equal to 13, execute this if block. So that's why here my age is equal to 20, which is not less than or equal to 18, but which is greater than or equal to 13. Since any one of these conditions satisfies, the if block will be executed. So I'm gonna save it, compile and run it. As you can see, it says you are a teenager. So this is it. This is about the logical operators in C. These logical operators are mainly used along with the relational operators, to form some complex condition. So as you can see here, we are combining two conditions under one if block.
Did you know in May 1966, communications of the ACM showed that any program with gotos could be transformed into a goto-free form involving only choice, if then else, and loops, while condition do XXX. Possibly with duplicated code, and/or the addition of Boolean variables, true or false flags. Now let's discuss the switch case statement. Switch statements can also be called matching case statements. If it matches the value in variable, switch variable, with any of the case inside, the statements under the case that matches will be executed. If none of the case is matched, the statement under default will be executed. The syntax is shown on the screen. Sample program of switch case statement is as shown here. Program algorithm explanation. Hash includes stdio.h. Header file is included because the C inbuilt statement printf we used in this program comes under stdio.h header files. Hash includes con.io.h is used because the C inbuilt function getCh comes under con.io.h header files. Main function is the place where C program execution begins. Variable a of type int is declared. Scanf is used to get the value from user for variable a. Variable a is included for switch case, switch a. If the user input was 1, the statement inside case 1 will be executed. Likewise for the rest of the cases until 5. But if the user input is other than 1 to 5, the statement under default will be executed. The output is as shown here. Let's now discuss the conditional operator or ternary operator. A conditional operator checks for an expression which returns either a true or false value. If condition evaluated is true, it returns the value of the true part of the operator. Otherwise, it returns the value of the false part of the operator. Conditional operators are used in decision-making in C programming. That is, it executes different statements according to test condition, whether it is either true or false. Syntax is shown on the screen. If the test condition is true, expression 1 is returned, and if false, expression 2 is returned. Now let's talk about the increment and decrement operators. Increment operators are used to increase the value of the variable by 1, and decrement operators are used to decrease the value of the variable by 1 in C programs. Syntax is shown on the screen. Program for decrement operators. In this program, the value of I is decremented 1 by 1 from 20 up to 11 using I decrement operator, and output is displayed as shown. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. Relational operators check relationships between two operands. If the relation is true, it returns value 1, and if the relation is false, it returns value 0. A compound statement or block allows a sequence of statements to be treated as a single statement. In if-else, if the condition is true, the statements between if and else is executed. If it's false, the statement after else is executed. Switch statements can also be called matching case statements. If it matches the value in variable, switch variable, with any of the case inside, the statements under the case that matches will be executed. Increment operators are used to increase the value of the variable by 1, and decrement operators are used to decrease the value of the variable by 1 in C programs.